Thank you, Kavan, for coming on today's episode of Mera Pehla Crore. And I am really, really excited to have you here. The first time I heard of you in general was through a friend of mine who was with you in GrowthX GX8 batch, I think, Anupam. And
Right.
it just really intrigued me because of the kind of things that you've done in the past. And he told me about your journey a little bit. And I was like, so that's interesting because we're the same age, I think. And it's really cool to see people who are the similar age of you as yours. And they're doing quite cool like stuff in the startup space. And I just was really intrigued for forever. I messaged you long ago also, and now you responded to this message. So I'm very grateful. So I'm really excited to learn about more about your journey and how did you start. My first question to you will be which will be part of your introduction as well. That how did you start IndieFolio 10 years ago as a 17-year-old? From if I'm not wrong. So that is what I would really, really like to start this conversation at.
Superb. Firstly, thanks for having me and thanks to Anupam to, I think talk a little bit about what you've been doing. So I'm glad that you've both spoken. That's how I'm here.
Yeah.
How did I start? Well,
Like
uh,
what was like going through a 17-year-old's mind? What were you doing? Were you working on some projects that you like started this?
so I have been freelancing since the eighth or ninth grade. And
That's
when it comes
insane.
to,
Like because this was like around 2010, I think.
must be, must be 2010, yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned this software called Element 3D by
Okay.
Andrew Kramer. People who know After Effects would know him. He's
Okay.
like a god when it comes to that. And I picked up freelancing. I had a studio called Visual Violet
Okay.
when I was creative director there, but essentially it was just me and my laptop. And I registered on at that point in time Elance, which is now Upwork.
Okay. So it
And
was Elance first.
yeah, it was Elance, and that's how I think my freelancing journey started. And I, also did an event in school, which really got me excited about management, and I could create departments, and I think I started getting addicted to having a thought, putting a team together, and bringing that thought to life. I think that till today really excites me.
Yeah.
And it was a time when everybody was starting up, and starting up was very cool, and raising funding was awesome, and all of that chatter was happening. So I was like, kuch to karna hai yaar. And I had a bunch of ideas which I tinkered with. I have a very good friend who I keep on discussing ideas with. And we both used to keep on having a business idea every day and, hashing out the plans.
This was in school.
This was in school.
Okay.
And 10th, ninth and 10th till 12th. And I constantly kept on hearing one thing, that do something you're damn aware of. Like, a lot of it, and you're also passionate towards it, because uh, running a company is a very hard job,
Yeah.
because it'll take time. You'll fail. You by default start at zero, and rather
Yeah.
you start at in you start and you're dead, right? You're not
Yeah.
making any money, which is the oxygen for a company. Nobody knows about you. Nobody should work with you. You don't have a moat. You don't have a team. You don't have a product. That's how you start off.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a long journey, and only if you're passionate, you should pursue this idea. And one thing I was very passionate about because of my freelancing was creative
Yeah.
design, animation. And I tried to kind of identify a gap. And for me, that gap at that point in time was we wanted to create like a Behance for India.
Okay.
So that was the genesis behind why I
So
started.
was Behance there?
Of course, definitely.
Okay.
A lot of people don't really believe me, but I actually stumbled upon Behance after I launched the company. And I was
Yeah.
almost shocked, saying, wow, these people are like 10 times bigger and better than me and global,
Yeah.
um, and from very smart founders. But still realize that maybe a local showcase featuring just Indians could be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the idea behind starting IndieFolio. We don't do that at all now. I think
Yeah.
IndieFolio has changed multiple times. I've gone through 9 pivots.
In
Uh,
10 years.
in 10 years, almost we pivoted every year. We tried various business models and failed mostly at all of them. But I think what we've been doing for the last 5 years roughly has been pretty exciting. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Now to just put things into perspective a little, because everyone has a journey, right? But not many people have as successful of a journey as you have, and which we'll get to later on because you also were featured in Forbes 30 under 30s list recently, and which we'll cover later. But I want to understand, just to put things in perspective, how many projects have you done so far with your venture, and how many members have you been associated with in your entire journey? I think it's a membership platform, right? IndieFolio.
We're on a membership platform. Um, we are essentially a managed marketplace. That's the
Right.
technical term, which is a fancy way of saying that we are a marketplace which adds a lot of value in the transaction. We don't just
Yeah.
connect, we actually do a lot of value addition.
Right.
To answer your question, I think easily over 7,000 projects we've done so far.
Yeah.
We've paid out, I think, over 40-50 crores to about 1,000 plus, 2,000, 1,500 plus creative people. And
Right.
I have had the pleasure of, I think, at least having over 70,000 people join the platform, host around 200,000 plus portfolios. So those are some numbers to answer your question. Yeah.
But that's great. So it puts things in a lot of perspective as well. Like you said that you've had like it's 1,500,000 to 1,500 people that you've paid out, right? And you had 70,000 people who joined your platform. So that just gives us a rough idea that regardless of what the size of the pool is, only a couple of people are capable enough of actually earning that kind of money from these kinds of opportunities. And I think that's a skill gap that people don't realize. They keep saying that this does not work, that does not work. And I don't think that's true. I think we need more introspection rather than anything else. Like we need to upgrade ourselves, we need to upscale ourselves. But having said that, like what does IndieFolio do now exactly? Like I know that we've gone through pivots and you started from somewhere else, which was much like Behance. But what is it that you do exactly? I understand that it's a managed marketplace, but how does that work? So what happens for the members and what happens for the clients?
Sure. When you look at the creative landscape today, the biggest players today who deliver creative solutions are agencies.
Right.
And what IndieFolio does is offer agency-like solutions, but we do it in a different manner where we bring in more skill, we bring in more variety, and we bring in more speed.
Okay.
So the way we do that is by actually looking at an asset-light model. Without being too technical, think of it like a Uber or an Airbnb model, right? Where none of the platforms own the houses or the
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
Similarly, we don't own or employ any creative talent in-house,
Yeah.
manage them. Agencies end up relying on only their in-house teams.
Yeah.
And that's why they can only do so much, right? They will have so much capability, so much stat, a certain fixed cost, which adds a lot of rigidity to the
Yeah.
entire structure.
Yeah.
And that's why, while they're amazing at big work, right, critical work, brand positioning and launches and strategy, when it comes to a lot of work which is demanding scale, like performance creatives, social media, sales enablement content, content marketing,
Yeah.
where you need to have hundreds and sometimes thousands of creatives every month. Uh, their rigid structure makes the process slow and expensive. And with us, we remove that reliance by having multiple people from an
Yeah.
entire network work with the brand. Now, obviously, for a brand to work with different kinds of people on different projects is very chaotic.
Yeah.
Like you can still do it, but the reason they go to an agency is because marketing people are very busy. They have
Yeah.
deadlines every day.
Okay.
So they need somebody who can actually manage that for them, and that's essentially what we do.
Okay.
So company hires us. We understand where we can bring in more variety, where we can bring in more scale and more cost efficiency and increased turnaround time. And then based on each need, if they want something in 3D, if they want something in creative strategy, if they want something to do on UX UI, we'll find partners for them. We may put a freelancer who's young on chore work,
Yeah.
who's new, but we may put a studio with a lot of experience on something very critical and
Got it.
everything in the middle. So
Right.
that's how the model works, and that's essentially what IndieFolio does today.
Right. And like, do you have any interesting case studies of like that would explain this, all of this process in action, like some brand that came for a particular thing and that you found pretty cool and you were able to execute the value?
Quite a few come to my mind.
Yeah,
So
if you could share some, that would be great.
yes, 100%. So there was a uh, there is a company called Pratilipi, which you may be aware of.
Patili,
Um, Pratilipi.
Pratilipi.
So they are essentially creating a lot of comic books, vernacular comic books for
Okay.
India. And while you and me may not be, their target audience, they're pretty popular in various parts of the country. So
Okay.
for Pratilipi, they need people who, are very specific in terms of their illustration style. Like
Got it.
I want to get somebody who understands this kind of a character design, plus who can do horror for us.
Okay.
What we've been able to do is actually deliver on that with multiple illustrators over years who I
Right.
believe have crafted dozens and dozens of comic books and episodes for them. So
Right.
that's a pretty exciting example.
Right.
Um, we had worked with Z for their event called Earth,
Okay.
where they wanted to create multiple installations. And one way to is to go to an agency and get it done. But
Yeah.
what we did is we went to some 4, 5 top designers or other top 5 space designers in India, from somebody who's done a Lollapalooza, somebody who's made the Make in India line,
Right.
right? Made them mentors
Yeah.
and actually went to, I think, multiple cities, I believe 5 to 6. And each city we picked 5 to 7, young creative people who got mentored by those guys, and we actually ended up creating some fantastic installations. If you go to IndieFolio's YouTube channel and search for
Yeah.
ZEE, you'll be able to find a video which beautifully encapsulates, what we've done there. Like that, we have got many, many examples. I've got a lot of examples where I have a brand who got a quote and a certain timeline from a large agency. And
Okay.
because, like I said, it was more content work than strategy,
Yeah.
it seemed like a high cost for them.
Yeah.
And we were able to deliver on that, not by giving 15 people, what an agency usually puts in a resource
Yeah.
card, but we were able to kind of compete with those big names with 1 or 2 animators,
Yeah.
designers, UX folks, which otherwise was just very hard for brands to understand. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think those are some examples which come to my mind right now.
Perfect. So, but like out of your experience, what do you think are the most like high selling skills in like terms of volume? Like, what are people coming for usually to IndieFolio?
Well, marketing content remains to be number one,
Yeah.
because today marketing is becoming more and more personalized, more and more hyper
Right.
local, um, and the demand for, I think, unique content is very high.
Yeah.
Even experimentation and A/B testing is very
Yeah.
important. We've all known we need that to optimize the click-through rates.
Yeah.
So that's very much high in demand, followed by UX UI. That
Okay.
would come second. And increasingly, I've seen a lot of requirements in 3D,
Okay.
and even those anamorphic videos. There is no real name here. Some people call it anamorphic, some people say VFX, some people say CGI. You
Yeah.
may have seen videos where there's a Taj Mahal, and some brand is unfurling something and
With
some
green
product
screen
coming
screens
out.
and stuff.
Yeah, and people are looking at it and just reacting.
Yeah,
Those are the kind of videos which are pretty high in demand. So yeah, I think those are some examples of what what is high in demand right now. Yes.
right. So I believe that you also like when people come on your platform to join as a freelancer, a per se, or a studio in general, you might look at their credentials and vet them, your someone from your team, that if they're capable enough to be part of your network.
Right.
So, do you see any commonalities from in terms of where these people are coming from? Like any particular institutions that these people are coming from, the place, or
No.
like is it absolutely random? Like anyone can come from
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I'm also very anal, like myself, like and bullish on the fact that agencies drive a lot of value in general, and I don't think that agencies are going to go anywhere. But having said that, a lot of people there's a lot of chatter about AI coming into the like segment and killing a lot of jobs. And do you think that the personalization, the like quantity of like things that you were talking about in terms of marketing collateral will be taken over by AI and a lot of jobs will become obsolete?
I think I'll borrow this from somebody who mentioned this. His name is Jemit, and
Yeah,
when I met him, he's a big marketing leader today, and he said that AI is the answer, but what is the question? And
right.
if anybody has used AI is as good as your prompt.
Yeah,
Uh, it can do anything for you. It can do everything for you, but there's no guarantee it's going to be good, right? A lot of times, what happens is you hire somebody as a human being because you trust that they get it. AI doesn't get it, according to me. We have to make sure that it gets it because it can get
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And because of that nature of AI, you'll always need um, a controller on top of it.
yeah,
But there is definitely threat where, see, what happens is if you look at just human creativity
yeah,
and just the creative jobs and landscape since the beginning of time,
yeah,
technology has enabled us to articulate whatever is in our mind out there in the world,
yeah,
right? Pehle, you have to draw it, paint it, right? It used
yeah,
to take a lot of time. Then you started getting digitization done. And now you can just think it and make it, and eventually you can actually just think and it'll pop up somewhere,
yeah,
right? The Neuralink and AR and God knows, so many things happening 50 years
yeah,
from now, who knows? So the supply chain, if I may say, is getting shorter and shorter. And
yeah.
every time it gets shorter, it becomes more democratic. I'll give you my example. I wanted to go to a design college and I did not go because some counselor in a design college told me I will never be able to become a good designer because I can't
Okay,
draw.
okay,
And drawing is something which is very crucial. And I just am somebody who couldn't draw. Or I guess I have ADHD, and I think just drawing requires too much patience. And I was like, I can't do this. Just sit
right,
and nicely like do
right,
detailing. Can't do that.
yeah,
So maybe that's why I was never good at it, or maybe I just don't have a brain for drawing.
yeah,
Damn good with software. And I became a designer. Right? I learned off YouTube and I became a designer. I became an animator. I still can't draw today,
yeah,
but I'm freaking good with software and I can bring things to life.
yeah,
Similarly, with AI, more and more people are going to be able to do various things now. Like I'll give you my wife's example. She's a forensic scientist turned into a content creator.
okay,
And I've done, years of editing on Premiere Pro, and I take pride in that. She uses this CapCut and InVideo and InShot. There are so many of these apps, and she's become better than me now when it comes to editing because it's really democratizing that. So
yeah,
competition will increase. It may happen that a marketer will be demanded to know creative, or a creative will be demanded to know marketing, or both of it,
yeah,
because it's all blending कि आपके पास आइडिया इनसाइट thought hai, if you are creative, if you are solutions oriented,
Yeah.
execution तो कुछ भी कर सकोगे आप.
Right.
So that from that angle, if you are somebody who takes pride in knowing your craft well, you're in trouble, boss. Because craft is getting democratized.
Yeah.
But if your craft is more thinking,
Yeah.
more solutioning, more creative, I think that's going to be a great area to be at. So, for
Right.
example, I'm pretty sure very soon, like 5 years down the line, you'll see a lot of AI movie makers because
Okay.
I use AI tools and I tinker with them a lot, and I can see tools coming together, and I'll be able to make a film, you
Yeah.
know. So nobody will really care. Oh, तुमने RE use किया कि who was your DOP?
Yeah.
Nobody will care eventually, but they'll really see, were you able to connect with the audience? Was your story able to get attention? So
Yeah.
that is going to become the metric
Yeah.
versus technicalities. So,
Right.
so per se, yeah.
I like. I completely agree with everything that you were saying, and my personal take on this also is that I don't know about world as a market in general because I've not traveled a lot and I've only been exposed to what I can be online. But from what I see in India, at least per se, India, like the Indian market, it's very hard to penetrate it, and it runs quite deep. There's still people there, like I think majority of the people still don't access internet as it should be more than outside of a couple of apps, let's say WhatsApp, YouTube, and this and that for consumption, not for creation. And similarly, I think like people in those parts of the world, even if they get out, they still want to work with people rather than machines. Like that is why we even have uh, like like have you gone to those malls where they have like park and ticket machines and the guy to press that button for you?
Yeah.
So people don't want to like even like engage with the machine like on that level, and we just have so many resources. I think we find some way or the other to just incorporate humans, more and more humans, into those activities, even if that's increasing the friction a little, because a lot of these processes that are running today do not need AI to be automated, but we still choose not to automate those things because we have people. So I think India as a market will, like the top 10%, of course, will lose jobs, will have to shift their focus of career and all, and might have to upskill themselves and upgrade themselves in order to be relevant. But I think a lot of things will still be in place uh, that will be human centric more than AI centric, and it's very hard to reach. I don't understand how that will work, and because there's some like companies like I think I forgot the name, but Sarvesh or Sargam or something, which is working on,
Sarvam.ai.
yeah. So that's working on like creating like something like Chat GPT, but for India because they're going multilingual in Indian languages because we have so many language in itself. Like I don't think those outside modules can compete with India on that level because we just don't have languages. We have dialects. Like every 20 kilometers, the dialect changes. Like I live in North India, northern part of the India. I think majority of the people are speaking Hindi in some other way, but the dialect shifts and like you're not able to understand what the other person is saying without AI. Like that's the like details that like I think will be very hard to capture for a machine or a intelligent software module in India. So I think that we're pretty safe that way. We'll always have jobs, but things like this, like even like I think the massy work will become more individualistic work, is what I feel. Like if it takes five people to do some jobs, it will only take one person to do that job. And instead of companies hiring an agency of like a couple of members of team, uh, like they would just hire one person in house to do all of that work. I think that's the shift that I see. What do you think?
Towards the end, I'll react first. See, the concept of outsourcing may not change
Yeah,
because outsourcing essentially means that I want to get an expert to do things I don't want to invest and build a capability in. So that's why there may be a demand. how there is a demand today कि आपको ये आता है तो I will hire you as an
Yeah.
agency. That stack will change drastically.
Yeah.
The people in an agency will change drastically. So we may
Yeah.
not have an art and a copy person, it may be
Yeah.
different. So that will happen. To answer the questions previously, it's too hard to commit, right? Like if you look at an example of UPI, that has had fantastic innovation.
Yeah.
If you compare the doorman,
But
right?
that was more of, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that wasn't because of the technology as much. It was because of the demonetization that happened in 2016. People did not have any other way. They were forced to use it. They did not have cash. Otherwise, cash
I think if
is
you
still the
force
king.
somebody to use it, and once that goes away, the influence of force goes away, they'll go back to their habit. But I don't see that happening with UPI
But
because people
also
just
because people did not have bank accounts. Hence, they were not using UPIs. And when the demonetization happened, even the vegetable seller or like people on the street vendors were forced to get a bank account,
Hmm.
which was otherwise impossible. So that
Yeah.
was a big friction that was solved for them. So once they
Yeah.
have a bank account, then they can just connect any app to it. The
Right.
app technology was never the problem. The
Yeah.
offline business they were having access to or not having access to was the problem. Now
Yeah.
everyone has a bank account because you could not keep cash for like this 6 month period. So you had to survive some way. And so that hence what explains the lines and like in front of banks at that point of time and all. But I don't see that happening for AI, is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe I think AI is a topic where you can't say anything.
Yeah,
I believe
it's
that
unpredictable.
AI, you know, um, has a has an exponential feature.
Yeah,
Like if you look at mobile phones, for example, we everybody has a mobile phone now.
yeah,
So you never know where the technology will go. Maybe AI and hardware will come together in some form. Geo's launched
yeah,
GeoBrain with NVIDIA, and they are known to build for Bharat.
yeah,
It's just like my mom uses ChatGPT. When I've not seen her use Airbnb or even for that matter Book My Show, but she's using ChatGPT. So that's
okay,
because it's so freaking intuitive, man. There's
yeah,
no button. You have to literally just type and speak
yeah,
and do everything. So I think that intuition, that the intuit, it's so the customer experience is so intuitive that I think it'll have deep penetration, but there are some challenges there for sure. But I'll tell you where I was coming to, right? If you talk from an opportunity point of view, and if somebody's listening to this podcast and thinking, "Yeah, कुछ करना है, कुछ बनाना है," so you should always work on the frontiers, no? Because if we may assume that it'll take time. I don't think it's never gonna happen. It'll just take time for everybody in the Bharat, India 3, India 2 to get adopted to a certain technology like AI.
yeah,
But you should still build for AI. Because if you still neglect that, and if you're not on the frontiers, you'll always have more competition.
yeah,
So that's at least my logic where, India is a big market. Even if 0.01% of India 3 is using your AI product, it'll just grow.
yeah,
If you start something which already exists, it may not grow that fast or it may diminish.
yeah.
That is at least my philosophy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, you never know what will happen with the AI because it's so unpredictable. And that's the beauty of, I think, exponential growth. People don't understand that initially it might be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, but the moment it reaches like thousands or like lakhs, it's just bouncing off the like planet after a point of time. You don't have charts big enough to contain those numbers at the speed uh, that they're rising. And I think that's like beautiful. And that's what we've seen in the recent I think 1 or 2 years with AI also. It started with ChatGPT. Before that, ChatGPT has its own APIs that people were using to build their AI tools, and nobody had
Right.
an idea about it. But it was still there. People think that ChatGPT, OpenAI launched their products like 2 years ago, but it
Right.
was there in the market. We just did not have direct access to it. So,
Right.
but having said that, I'm a true believer of coming back to IndieFolio. So I'm a true believer of that the failure teaches more than success. And you just told us initially that you had 9 pivots. and you failed in almost everything. So could you like just, if it doesn't take much of your time, so if you could touch on all of those pivots, or if you can just touch on like like best things that you tried and failed, and why did you fail?
So I think touching on all nine
Would be
uh,
difficult.
may not be necessary.
Yeah,
I'll give you broad buckets, right?
yeah,
So
please do.
we started off thinking we are going to be a portfolio platform.
Yeah,
We realized that it's hard to compete with the Behance. We realized that it's hard to uh, be a Webflow or a WordPress. And a lot of people were shifting to those pro sites.
yeah,
Then we thought, okay, maybe we'll be a job board, maybe we'll be a recruitment platform. It was difficult for us to convince HRs to pay us an additional amount of money on top of their Naukri and LinkedIn subscriptions, which they just felt
mm,
unnecessary to do for just design.
yeah,
It's a niche. Then we were thinking, can we monetize the supply side? We thought of courses. We started with certain kind of courses which we realized that knowledge is available pretty freely.
yeah.
And the kind of courses we did, I think the quality was not as per what I think was available in the market.
Yeah,
Then we started focusing a lot on brands and you know started monetizing events because we used to do a lot of the events.
yeah,
Realized that the market there is very small. There are only so many companies will do so much, and we capped out in terms of
yeah,
revenue. And then we always knew that the most obvious thing which is available in the market has been freelancing and matchmaking and these
right.
markets which have been there like from several years. If I'm not
Yeah,
wrong, it was in 90s it launched, if
yeah,
I'm not wrong. But we decided to kind of put up a twist and solve the problems those marketplaces had,
yeah,
and that really worked out for us. Even
yeah.
within the marketplace, we started with just a matchmaker, then we shifted to a lightly managed, then we went to a heavily managed for SMEs, and now we're heavily managed for enterprises. So
Okay.
that's how the model really kept on evolving.
Yeah,
uh, I think if I can give some gyan on what I've learned is, number one, market needs to be big enough here.
yeah.
I was very stuck to the fact as a pretty young, I don't want to put up my age as a problem, but it was definitely
It's
a,
lack of exposure.
you could say that, yeah, that's a good way to put it, which is age only. It's a good way
Yeah,
of saying,
exactly.
you
You
know,
you have not seen the world yet.
never worked in a company. I've never really
Yeah,
finished college. I've never really done any of that. So I learned on the go, which has pros and cons. But market has to be big. I thought,
yeah,
yeah, dude, I am a designer and design's like everything to me. So, it's like, it must be huge. Then I realized design's not as big, but creative and advertising is bigger. Then I
yeah,
realized marketing is even bigger than advertising.
yeah,
That's how my thought process worked. Today, I know digital
yeah,
transformation is even bigger than
yeah,
that, for
yeah,
example. So, market, very important. Like your odds
yeah,
of success will just increase if the market increases. Yes, there'll be competition, but I think market's an important one. However, it should be a market which is growing. So even if you invest, like I still believe that creative and design is going to be a huge market, and I'm seeing that it's becoming one in front of our eyes
yeah,
and to blow. And I have a huge advantage when that
yeah.
happens
You have
because
a
of
head start.
huge 10-year head start, man. I'm gonna
Exactly.
terms of IndieFolio in Jan.
Yeah,
So growing markets, you can as a disclaimer, you can do it, but किसी को पता नहीं होता मार्केट बढ़ेगा कि नहीं, मतलब there's so many
yeah.
things which will
Like
happen.
look at Clubhouse. Like everyone thought that everyone's going to go audio
Exactly.
again in like 2020, and it failed. It's a
Exactly.
colossal failure. Like, and nobody cares.
Exactly. I think even edtech online learning is growing, but
Yeah, dude,
grow
look
at
at
an rate.
Byju's.
Yeah, Byju's was more of a governance issue, but people just went back to colleges and schools, and I think
Exactly.
the edtech VCs and founders thought कि यार मतलब अभी सब online ही पढ़ेंगे. Yeah.
Yeah.
you see the podcast of Nitin Kamath with the EdTech founders, you'll get a glimpse of that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, market is one. Secondly, you have to really understand if your product has a bite.
Yeah.
कि यार बताया और उसने बोला यार मस्त है यार चलो कुछ यूज कर.
Exactly. वो wow factor बहुत जरूरी है. Like
Yeah.
it has to be there. You can't win without it.
If the initial reaction is like हाँ, and even
तू भी
your,
वही कर रहा है, वो भी वही कर रहा है, तो like
yeah,
it just dies down.
it's going to be hard for you to
Yeah.
grow fast.
Yeah.
Third thing is, and just to on my second point, like it could be a very damn good portfolio. That
Yeah.
also could be a product which has a
Yeah.
bite. So if you want to start a creative agency after listening to this, do it. The market is big. Your differentiation comes from your work or something
Yeah.
else. But you have to have that bite thing. अरे यार तू AI और ये करता है, AR करता है, great. Or oh wow, you got expertise in 3D. Or wow, you understand e-commerce.
Yeah.
Some bite has to be there.
Yeah.
And thirdly, it should be a product people really want. And the best way to assess that is repeat purchases.
Yeah.
एक बार किसी ने खरीदा आपका product, they are coming back to you. That's very important. Where
Yeah.
they do a push strategy to get the first purchase, but then you
Yeah.
need to pull
Yeah.
from the customer.
Yeah.
Right? So I think these three things I learned at every juncture.
Yeah. And these
About
are the most important things. Like I think you've covered it all. Like for any business, not just the
yeah,
creativity agency business, but
yeah,
for any business, you need new customer acquisition is just as important as the retention. And it goes for your employees as well. It goes for your team as well. Like you need to grow with new people, but you also need to retain your old people, because if to keep hiring new people and you keep losing your old people, it's not going to scale up.
yeah.
You will lose your progress because they
Absolutely
take a part of the company with them. You might not realize it, but they do. So I think
correct.
that's like goes for clients and team internally and externally both. But since I'm a little short on time with you, I want to cover a couple of things,
Sure.
which I will like rush a little bit into the conversation. So everyone wants like okay, okay. So let's start with experience. Why did you join GrowthX, and what is the value that you got out of it? Do you think it's worth it?
Definitely worth it.
Okay.
So I'm a dropout, and
Oh, same.
oh great. I think I don't know how much proud
We
you
should
feel
create a
about it.
community together for these people, because I feel like these are like just bastards running around of like who like वो होता है ना धोबी का कुत्ता ना घर का ना घाट का, and I just meet these people like myself. I'm just like, and they just like people don't know like these people like who are just dropouts, and they
Right,
just like get so excited by meeting each other, and just I think it's a beautiful feeling. The
right.
biggest moat.
I think for me, you know, dropping out was, I think what happened because of dropping out is I felt I never had validation. कि यार मतलब तेरे को आता है. When you get a
Yeah,
degree from a good college, or when you work in a big company and they promote you, you get external
yeah,
validation.
yeah, true.
मतलब है तेरे में कुछ. And as somebody who's freelanced, then learned everything by myself on YouTube, then didn't do a job and directly started my own company.
Yeah.
A lot of insecurity that do I know anything or not?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I completely agree.
obviously when I used to hire people, they were smarter
Yeah,
than me in a lot of cases. To talk to people, other founders,
yeah,
I realized, okay, what are they saying? And when I googled it, I'm like, अच्छा ये jargon है, मेरे को समझ आया, आता है मेरे को, but I don't know how to articulate.
right.
So I'm very insecure about that, and I keep on jumping on any opportunity I can to learn more.
Yeah,
So the growth hacks happened because of that, where I genuinely was keen to know what is growth marketing everybody's talking about.
yeah,
Even today, I'm enrolled into Upgrad. I'm doing a
right.
brand management course. Before that, I was in a distance online learning course with MIT on AI. And I plan to do at least six, seven, I have like a bucket list of at least six, seven more courses I'd love to do right away, but I don't have time.
Yeah,
So I keep on learning, and that just helps me
yeah,
give more validation to myself. I don't want to
yeah,
toot my own horn, but often in these courses, when I see the students and I see myself and I see the content, I am like, oh,
yeah,
I know a decent chunk and I feel
yeah, exactly.
good about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously, last thing is community. I work from home. We're a remote company of 50 plus people, so we don't have an office.
Yeah.
Uh, I happen to have friends who are not necessarily from the industry, um, or fellow founders in bulk.
Yeah.
So I like to be around people like me. That's a great way to learn. It's a great way to, again, keep your juices flowing.
Yeah.
Uh, Good way for you to know कि okay, you may feel good after a month कि यार आज तो मस्त revenue कमाया है and I'm so
Uh,
smart. It's always good to be around people who've done 10 times better than you because it keeps you hungry, is at least what I
yeah.
feel.
Keeps
Otherwise,
you humbled also.
correct, correct. Humble तो मतलब 10 साल तो हो गए startup चलाने and I've not become a very big company, so I've already gotten that character. But yeah, I think I hope that answers the question.
It does, and I feel like anything that can either help you learn or make you help you become a part of the community, which is uh, very active. I think it's worth it. Like it doesn't, even if you don't learn anything like theoretically as much, but you have people to learn from for your life. Like you connect with them, and now you're just network forever, and you can reach out to them, talk to them. I think that's the biggest advantage of any community. But having said that, coming like talking about validation, like how does it feel to be uh, like validated by Forbes and becoming the 30 under 30? So are you validated enough now?
No, I think you know, it was one of those things which was that fancy title, you aspire to have. EVC funding मिलेगा, Forbes के cover पे you'll be, or under 30, or sell your company, do IPO. It's for me at least was one of those things, and
Right.
I in fact I've been applying for a long, long time.
But you
Uh,
have to apply.
you have to apply to it, yeah, 100%. And
Okay.
I've been applying like over several years, I think almost 7, 8 years, and I'd almost given up in the couple of years ago, saying nahi ho raha hai mere se, I don't think I'm ready for it or whatever. And a good friend of mine, she convinced me. She's like, yaar, aspire kar le yaar, you're 28, you have a few years, then you're gonna
Yeah.
cross 30. So I've told a bunch of people this, if they've seen Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman keeps on trying to get out of the jail and
Yeah.
keeps on pleading, and his application keeps on getting rejected till the last time where he's like, yeah, I know you're not gonna freaking take me out of the jail, and they finally take him out.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened to me, where I filled. So there's a pretty elaborate form. There's a bunch of questions and a lot of screening which happens, and I kind of had that in my mind, saying, yeah, this is the last time, so fuck it, what's gonna happen? And I kind of answered that in a very real way. I also feel that in the last 7 years, I've grown personally, companies grown financially, our numbers are very strong, which also could be something important.
What's
And
your
then,
numbers?
sorry,
What's your numbers? Like if that's a public information.
I don't want to share the exact numbers publicly if
The
that's okay
range.
with you, but I've said that, we've given 40, 50 crores in earnings to our
Yeah.
talent pool. And we've been growing 100. I'll tell you, Mera Pehla Crore took me seven
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
After 7 years,
Yeah.
we got our first crore as revenue.
Yeah.
And then that number has grown more than 10, 20 times in a very short time period. And it's continuing to grow and almost double every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So the graph was literally like death and
Yeah. Exactly.
often,
That's the
often,
exponential growth.
often that happens.
Yeah.
There's a meme, or not a meme, a cartoon which is very popular, where it's a cartoon about not giving up, where there's a person digging to find gold,
Yeah.
and
There's a diamond mine
the
and
diamond cave
yeah.
right there, and they're just giving up here, right?
Yeah.
It's actually very true, I feel,
Yeah.
for companies, because it's a learning curve for the founder. It's a learning curve for them to understand what works. It's a learning curve for the market to understand your product, and so on.
Yeah.
And I personally feel that before COVID, working with independent talent remotely was like, are you mad?
Yeah.
And now that's become the norm for creative people.
Yeah.
And companies are used to it now. So things change.
Yeah.
Uh,
We just have to wait it out.
if you do some, if you're good at something, And if you're passionate about it, if you do it for long enough, now you'll succeed. That I'm
Exactly.
convinced about. But to answer your question back, to go back to your question on Forbes 30, I kind of gave my application that way and became pretty, pretty. I was pretty happy. I was in Delhi. I was on a work trip. I just woke up to
Yeah.
that email. They just send you an email saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, you have the list. Check it out." And I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is crazy."
Yeah.
So that was very, very exciting. And yeah, for everybody who doesn't know, I think if you think you're capable enough, you can apply to these things. I love that, right? It's not
Yeah.
some bunch of editors who think, I think this person is good. I
Yeah.
love the fact that tens of thousands of people apply in Asia
Yeah.
and they pick the best. I think I'm
Yeah.
more happy about that, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's a very democratic thing. It's
Yeah.
not like only VC funding companies, you have people
Right.
awards or people with 1 million followers get considered.
Right.
Anybody who they feel has that potential to be different should get a
Yeah.
voice. They highlight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I think that whole thing happened. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, brother. And like it's something that not many people achieve. And regardless of how easy or how difficult it is to get, I don't think it's easy. Like it doesn't come easy. It might be lucky, but it's not easy. Might be simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
But it's still special, I think. Regardless of whatever like you tell yourself and humble yourself with. So I think that's a really great journey. And I'm over time now, and as I promised you, I will try to wrap it up within this time frame. And this was a really interesting conversation, and I don't think it's completed. I have still have a lot of questions, but we'll end it here. Maybe get you on back for another episode sometime later, and then talk like about your new milestones by then, inshallah, and uh, like whatever we missed out on today's episode. But yeah, I think this is pretty great. Is there anything that you would like to end the episode on?
Fantastic.
Any
No, I
more?
think thank you so much for having me. It's
Likewise.
Diwali Eve today,
Yeah.
so I have to go. Otherwise, I would love to answer all the questions you have. Um, I think I've seen your pods before, and I've seen the kind of audience you have. I think it's a lot of people who want to start up.
Yeah.
And if I can kind of give one advice to them, which they may have not heard, is build slow. It's okay. Um, People keep on saying go big or go home. If you're not changing, if you're not growing in 1 year, if you're not tripling every month, you failed. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe, yes, billion-dollar companies need that.
Yeah.
But if you are not able to make one, or if you don't want to make one, or if you're just passionate about music and something around your passion, and that may never be a billion-dollar company, it's okay, do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, on your deathbed, your $1 billion are not going to matter. We're all
Yeah.
going to go down or up wherever you believe in the
Yeah.
same day. So I think it's okay building slow, as long as I think you're not thinking, but you're actually executing. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are some parting thoughts from my end. And once again, thanks a lot for having me, man.
And that was a beautiful thought to end the note, like ending note on for this podcast. And I'm really excited to have you here. And I really hope that I really wish the best for you and IndieFolio and the whole team. And I hope that we're able to get back with you in like 6 months' time and see your progress in the next fiscal year, inshallah.
Fantastic. I'd love to do that. And thank you so much and happy Diwali and have a great one.
Likewise, you too. I'll stop the recording now.